Picture this. It's a cold, quiet night in a medieval village, sometime around 1342. The stars are out, twinkling faintly above a cluster of thatched roof huts. The air smells of damp earth and wood smoke, and the only sound is the soft rustle of wind through the barley fields. Inside one of those huts, a peasant named Edric lies on a straw mattress, his breathing slow and steady, his body sinking into the kind of deep, dreamless sleep most of us can only imagine. No buzzing phones, no streetlights creeping through the window, no hum of modern life to keep him tossing and turning. Just pure, uninterrupted rest. Why is it that Edric, a man who toiled in the fields all day, ate simple bread, and lived in a world without mattresses or melatonin, slept so well? What was it about the life of a medieval peasant that made their sleep this stuff of legend? Welcome to tonight's story, a long, slow dive into the world of medieval peasants and the surprising secrets behind their incredible sleep. This is boring history for sleep, why medieval peasants had the best sleep in history, and I promise by the time we're done, you might just drift off yourself, or at least wish you could sleep like Edric did. Let's start with Edric, our guide into this forgotten world. He's not a king, not a knight, not even a merchant with a bit of coin to his name. Edric is a nobody, just a 30-year-old peasant with calloused hands and a sunburned neck, living in a small village in the heart of England. His days are long, starting before dawn when he wakes to the crow of a rooster. He spends hours plowing fields, hauling water, or repairing fences, his body moving in rhythm with the seasons. But when night falls, Edric doesn't lie awake worrying about tomorrow. He doesn't scroll through a feed or stress about deadlines. He eats his supper, a chunk of rye bread and maybe some pottage made of peas and onions. Then he lies down on a straw bed, pulls a wool blanket over his shoulders, and sleeps. Deeply, soundly, for hours. The kind of sleep that leaves you feeling like you've been reborn. How does he do it? What's his secret? Was it the straw mattress, lumpy but oddly cozy? Was it the silence of a world without machines? Or was there something deeper, something about the way medieval peasants lived that unlocked the kind of rest we chase with pills and podcasts today? Now, let's step back and imagine Edric's village. It's called Wolfham, a place so small it barely shows up on any map, even back then. The village is a scattering of maybe 20 huts, each one made of wattle and daub, sticks woven together and slathered with mud. The roofs are straw, tied down with ropes to keep them from blowing away in the wind. There's a church at the center, a simple stone building with a wooden cross, where the villagers gather on Sundays to pray and gossip. The fields stretch out around the village, divided into strips where each family grows their barley, oats, or rye. A stream runs nearby, providing water for drinking and washing, though nobody bathes as often as we do now. Life here is hard, no question about it. Edric and his neighbors work from sunrise to sunset, their hands blistered from swinging scythes or pulling weeds. They eat the same food day after day, bread, pottage, maybe a bit of cheese if they're lucky. But when the sun goes down, something magical happens. The whole village seems to sigh, to settle into a quiet so deep it feels like the world itself is asleep. And in that quiet, Edric and his neighbors find rest like no other. Let's talk about that quiet for a moment. Imagine a night in Wolfham. There's no electricity, no lamps flickering into the early hours. When the sun sets, the world goes dark, save for the faint glow of a fire in each hut. The fire's warmth is enough to take the chill off the air, but it's not much. Maybe a few logs burning low, casting shadows on the walls. There's no hum of a refrigerator, no distant rumble of cars. The only sounds are natural. The wind, the occasional hoot of an owl, maybe the soft bleat of sheep in the distance. This is the soundscape of Edric's world, and it's part of why he sleeps so well. His brain isn't wired from the blue light of a screen or the constant ping of notifications. His mind is calm, tuned to the rhythms of the day. He works hard, he eats, he rests. It's simple, but it works. Or does it? Is the quiet really the key, or is there more to it? Could it be the way Edric's life is structured, tied to the land and the seasons, that makes his sleep so perfect? Let's meet another character in our story, Elfwin, Edric's wife. She's 28, with a quick smile and hands that are always busy, spinning wool, kneading dough, or tending to their two children, a boy named Godric and a girl named Steinberg. Elfwin's days are just as long as Edric's, but her work is different. While he's out in the fields, she's at home, grinding grain into flour with a hand quern, a stone tool that takes hours to produce enough for a single loaf. She sweeps the dirt floor of their hut, feeds the chickens, and patches clothes with a bone needle. By evening, she's exhausted, her muscles aching from the constant motion. But like Edric, when she lies down on that same straw mattress, sleep comes easily. She doesn't toss and turn, doesn't lie awake worrying about the next day's chores. Her body knows it's time to rest, and it obeys. Is it the physical exhaustion that does it? The fact that her days are filled with so much labor that sleep is inevitable? Or is there something about the way she lives, her connection to her family, her community, her faith, that makes her rest so deep? Now, let's think about what sleep meant to these peasants. Today, we obsess over sleep, counting hours, tracking REM cycles, buying weighted blankets, and white noise machines. But for Edric and Elfwin, sleep wasn't something to chase. It was just part of life, as natural as breathing. They didn't have clocks to tell them it was bedtime, but they didn't need them. The sun and the seasons were their clocks. When it got dark, they slept. When it got light, they woke. Their lives were tied to the natural world in a way we can barely imagine now. The harvest season meant long days and short nights, but in winter, when the fields were fallow, they might sleep longer, curled up under their blankets while the snow fell outside. Was this rhythm, this connection to the earth, the secret to their perfect sleep? Or was it something else, something we're about to uncover as we dive deeper into their world? Let's consider the food they ate. It wasn't much by our standards. Edric and Elfwin's meals were simple: bread made from rye or barley, pottage thickened with whatever vegetables were in season, maybe some herbs like parsley or thyme if they could get them. Meat was rare, maybe a bit of pork or mutton on a feast day. They drank ale, brewed from barley and flavored with herbs, because water wasn't always safe. This diet was plain, but it was enough to keep them going. And maybe, just maybe, it helped them sleep. No sugar crashes, no caffeine to keep them wired. Just hearty, filling food that fueled their bodies and let them rest. But was their diet really that different from ours? Or is there another piece of the puzzle we're missing? Something about their mindset or their way of life that made sleep come so easily? Let's zoom out a bit and think about the bigger picture. Wolfham wasn't just a collection of huts and fields. It was a community, a place where everyone knew everyone else. Edric and Elfwin weren't alone in their struggles. Their neighbors were there, sharing the work, the food, the prayers. If Edric's plow broke, someone would lend him a tool. If Elfwin needed help with the children, a neighbor's daughter might step in. This sense of connection, of belonging, was woven into their lives. They didn't feel the isolation we sometimes feel today, staring at screens instead of faces. Did this community, this sense of togetherness, help them sleep better? Did knowing they were part of something bigger give them peace of mind, letting them drift off without the weight of modern anxieties? But it wasn't all perfect. Life as a medieval peasant was tough. The work was backbreaking, the winters were harsh, and disease was always a threat. Edric and Elfwin had lost a child to fever a few years back, a pain that lingered in their quiet moments. The lord of the manor, a stern man named Baldwin, demanded a portion of their crops every year, leaving them with just enough to survive. And yet, despite these hardships, they slept. Night after night, they closed their eyes and found rest. How? What was it about their world that let them escape the worries that keep us up at night? Was it their faith, the church bells that rang out every evening, calling them to prayer? Was it the simplicity of their lives, free from the clutter of modern distractions? Or was there something else, something we haven't yet discovered, that made their sleep so profound? As we follow Edric and Elfwin through their days, we'll explore these questions and more. We'll walk the muddy paths of Wolfham, sit by their fire, and listen to the sounds of their world. We'll dig into the details of their lives, the tools they used, the food they ate, the stories they told. We'll look at the science of sleep, or at least what we can guess about it from a time before sleep trackers and neurologists. And we'll try to figure out why, in a world that was so hard, sleep came so easily. But there's a twist, a mystery waiting at the heart of this story. Something about Edric's sleep, something he doesn't even realize himself, that might change everything we think we know about rest. What is it? What secret did these medieval peasants carry, tucked away in their straw beds and quiet nights, that made their sleep the best in history? Stick with me, and let's find out, if you can stay awake that long. The sun is just beginning to rise over Wolfham, painting the sky a pale pink that barely reaches the shadows of the thatched huts. Edric stirs on his straw mattress, the dry stalks rustling beneath him as he shifts his weight. The mattress isn't much, just a sack stuffed with straw from last year's harvest, laid on a wooden frame, raised a few inches off the dirt floor. It's not soft like the beds we know today, but it's familiar to Edric, its lumps and dips molded to his body after years of use. He doesn't think about it as he swings his legs over the side and pulls on his tunic, a rough garment of undyed wool that scratches against his skin. Elfwyn is already up, her silhouette moving quietly in the dim light of the hut. She's tending the fire, adding a stick of oak to the embers, coaxing them into a low flame. The smell of smoke fills the air, mingling with the earthy scent of the dirt floor. It's a smell Edric has known his whole life, as constant as the rhythm of his days. But as he laces up his leather shoes, worn thin at the toes, does he notice something different this morning? A faint unease, perhaps a whisper of a dream he can't quite recall, that lingers like the morning mist? Outside, the village is waking up. The rooster crows again, its call sharp but familiar, cutting through the stillness. Edric steps out into the cool air, his breath visible for a moment before it fades. The path to the fields is worn smooth, a ribbon of dirt winding between the huts and out to the strips of land where the barley grows. Each strip is narrow, maybe 10 paces wide, marked by stones to show where Edric's plot ends and his neighbor's begins. He carries a wooden hoe over his shoulder, its handle polished by years of use, the iron blade dulled but still sharp enough to break the soil. The work ahead is the same as yesterday. Dig, turn the earth, pull weeds, check for pests. It's repetitive, back-breaking labor, the kind that leaves your muscles sore and your mind empty. But that emptiness, that simplicity, might be part of why Edric sleeps so well. His days are predictable, his tasks clear. There's no room for the restless thoughts that keep us up at night. Or is there? Could there be something in the rhythm of his work, something he doesn't even notice, that sets the stage for his perfect rest? Elfwyn, meanwhile, is busy with her own tasks. She's at the corn now, grinding barley into flour. The corn is 2 flat stones, one on top of the other. With a wooden handle, she turns by hand. It's slow work, turn, 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 a steady creak as the stones grind together, producing a coarse flour that dusts her hands and the front of her apron. It takes an hour to grind enough for a day's bread, and her arms ache by the end, but she doesn't complain. This is her life, the same as it was for her mother and her mother's mother. She hums a tune as she works, a simple melody passed down through the village, about a girl who lost her sheep and found them by the river. The children, Godric and Seinberg, are playing nearby, chasing each other with sticks, their laughter bright in the morning air. Elfwyn glances at them, a small smile on her face, but her mind is elsewhere. Last night, as she lay beside Edric, she felt something, a moment of stillness, a depth to her sleep she hadn't noticed before. Was it just the quiet of the night, or was something more? Something tied to the way they live, the way they rest? The village of Wolfham is small, but it's alive with the quiet hum of routine. Across the path, their neighbor, a man named Wulfric, is mending a fence, weaving new willow branches into the gaps where the old ones have rotted. Wulfric is older, his beard streaked with gray, but his hands are steady as he works. He calls out to Edric, a greeting as familiar as the sunrise, and Edric nods back, already heading to his field. The community here is tight-knit, bound by shared work and shared struggles. If a storm ruins the crops, they all suffer. If a cow gives birth, they all celebrate. This connection runs deep, like the roots of the oak tree that stands at the edge of the village, its branches heavy with acorns. Does this sense of belonging, this knowledge that you're never truly alone, help Edric and Elfwin sleep? Does it ease the weight of their worries, letting them sink into their straw beds without fear? Let's pause on that thought for a moment. Today, we often feel alone, even in a crowd. We're connected by screens, but disconnected from the people around us. Edric and Elfwin don't have that problem. Their world is small: Wolfham, the fields, the church, the stream. Everyone knows their story, their joys, their losses. When Edric's brother died of a fever 2 winters ago, the whole village mourned. They brought food, sat with him, prayed. It didn't erase the pain, but it made it bearable. Maybe that's part of the secret. Maybe knowing you're part of a community, that your life is woven into the lives of others, makes sleep come easier. It's not something you can measure, like the weight of a sack of barley or the hours of daylight. But it's there, in the way Elfwin shares a loaf of bread with her neighbor, in the way Edric helps Wulfric lift a heavy log. Could this be the key to their perfect sleep? Or is there still something we're missing, something hidden in the details of their days? Back in the hut, Elfwin is kneading dough now, her hands pressing into the sticky mixture of flour and water. The dough is heavy, requiring strength to work it into a smooth ball. She'll let it sit by the fire for a while, covered with a cloth, before shaping it into a loaf and baking it in the clay oven outside. The oven is simple, just a dome of hardened clay with a fire inside, but it does the job. The bread will be dense, chewy, nothing like the soft loaves we buy today. But it's food, and it fills the belly. Edric will eat some at midday, sitting under a tree with his fellow field workers, washing it down with a horn of ale. The ale is weak, more like flavored water, but it's safer than the stream water, which can make you sick if you're not careful. This meal, this moment of rest in the middle of the day, is another piece of their routine. It's predictable, unchanging, like the turning of the seasons. And maybe that predictability, that lack of surprises, is what lets Edric and Elfwin close their eyes at night and drift off without a fight. But what if there's a crack in that routine, a shadow on the edge of their peaceful nights? What if Edric's dreams, the ones he can't quite remember, hold a clue to something bigger, something that could explain why their sleep is so perfect and why ours isn't? The morning in Wolfham moves slowly, like the mist that clings to the fields before the sun burns it away. Edric is out in his strip of land now, his wooden hoe digging into the soil with a steady rhythm. The earth is heavy, a mix of clay and loam, and it sticks to the blade of his hoe, requiring him to pause every few swings to scrape it clean with a stick. He's planting barley today, dropping seeds into shallow furrows he's carved with his hands. Each seed is small, no bigger than a pebble, and he places them carefully about a hand's width apart, pressing the soil back over them with his fingers. It's work he's done since he was a boy, following his father across these same fields. The repetition is comforting, like the sound of Elfwin's corn back at the hut. Turn, 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 a cycle that never changes. But as Edric works, his mind drifts to last night's sleep. It was deep, as always, but there was something else, a fleeting image in his dreams, a shadow he can't quite place. Does it mean anything, or is it just the fog of sleep playing tricks on him? Back at the hut, Elfwin has finished kneading the dough and is now spinning wool. She sits on a low stool, a drop spindle in her hand, twisting the fibers in a thread. The spindle is a simple thing, a stick with a clay weight at the bottom, and she twirls it with a flick of her wrist, letting it spin until the wool tightens into a thin strand. It's slow work requiring patience, and she'll spend hours today producing enough thread for a single patch of cloth. The wool comes from their own sheep, 3 of them, kept in a pen behind the hut. She sheared them last spring, her hands moving carefully with iron shears to avoid nicking the animal's skin. The wool was washed in the stream, beaten with sticks to clean it, and then carded with wooden combs to smooth out the tangles. Every step is deliberate, unhurried, part of the rhythm of her days. As she spins, she glances at Godric and Steinberg, who are now helping to gather kindling from the edge of the village. Their small hands clutch bundles of twigs, their faces serious with the importance of their task. Elfwin smiles, but her thoughts linger on her own sleep, so deep and restful, yet tinged with something she can't name, a feeling that stays with her as she works. The village of Wolfham is a world of routines, each task tied to the next like links in a chain. Across the path, Wulfric is still at his fence, weaving willow branches with a practiced hand. His wife, Edith, is nearby, milking their cow, a sturdy beast with a coat the color of mud. The milk streams into a wooden bucket, a soft patter that blends with the sounds of the village. The cluck of chickens, the creak of a cartwheel, the distant thud of an axe splitting wood. Edith will churn some of the milk into butter later, using a wooden churn that's been in her family for 3 generations. The process takes time, her arms moving up and down, until the cream thickens into pale yellow clumps. It's the kind of work that fills the day, leaving no room for idle thoughts. And maybe that's another piece of the puzzle. Edric and Elfwin don't have time to worry about the future, not the way we do. Their days are full, their minds occupied with the next task, the next meal. Does this focus, this lack of distraction, let their bodies slip into sleep as easily as they slip into their daily work? Or is there something more, something hidden in the way their lives are built? Let's think about the seasons, because they shape everything in Wolfham. It's early summer now, the days long and warm, the fields green with new growth. Edric's barley will ripen by late summer, ready to be cut with a sickle and gathered into sheaves. The harvest is a busy time when the whole village works together, men and women side by side, their sickles flashing in the sun. In winter, though, the pace slows. The fields lie fallow, blanketed in frost, and the days are short, the nights long and cold. Edric and Elfwin sleep longer then, their bodies curled together under their wool blanket, the fire banked low to save fuel. The cold seeps through the walls, but they don't mind. Their bodies are used to it, hardened by years of living close to the earth. This rhythm, this cycle of work and rest tied to the seasons, feels natural, inevitable. It's not something they think about, any more than they think about breathing. But could this be part of their secret? Does living so close to the natural world, moving with its patterns, make their sleep deeper, more restorative? Or is there a shadow in that rhythm, a hint of something Edric felt in his dream last night? The church bells ring out now, calling the village to midday prayers. The church is small, its stone walls cool and damp, its wooden benches worn smooth by years of use. Edric pauses in the field, wiping sweat from his brow, and joins the others trudging toward the church. Elfwin is there too, her hands dusted with flour, her children trailing behind her. The priest, a thin man named Father Leofric, speaks in a low, steady voice, reciting prayers in Latin that most of the villagers don't understand. But the words are comforting, their cadence familiar, like a lullaby. The villagers kneel, their heads bowed, their thoughts quiet. Faith is a big part of their lives, a thread that runs through every day. They pray for good harvests, for healthy children, for protection from storms and sickness. Does this faith help them sleep? Does believing in something bigger, something beyond the struggles of their daily lives, give them peace at night? Elfwin thinks so as she kneels in the church, her eyes half closed, her mind calm. But as she prays, she feels it again, that strange sense from her sleep, like a whisper she can't quite hear. Back in the fields, Edric eats his midday meal, a chunk of bread and a slice of hard cheese, washed down with ale from a leather flask. He sits with Wulfric and a few others, their talk slow and easy about the weather, the crops, the new foal born to the Lord's mare. There's no rush, no urgency. The world moves at its own pace, and they move with it. But as Edric takes a bite of bread, he pauses, his eyes distant. That dream again, that shadow. It's nothing he can name, but it's there, tugging at the edge of his mind. Is it a warning, a memory, or something else entirely? What is it about his sleep, so perfect and deep, that feels different today? And what does it mean for him, for Elfwin, for the quiet nights of Wolfham? The midday sun hangs high over Wolfham, casting short shadows across the fields where Edric works. He's back at his barley plot, his hands moving methodically as he checks each row for weeds. The barley is young, its green shoots barely a hand's height, and Edric kneels to pluck out a stray thistle, its prickly leaves catching on his fingers. He tosses it aside, wipes his hands on his tunic, and moves to the next row. The work is endless, each task blending into the next. Weed, plant, water, repeat. The soil is cool beneath his knees, a mix of earth and small stones that crunch under his weight. He uses a wooden bucket to carry water from the stream, sloshing it carefully over the furrows, making sure each plant gets just enough. The bucket is heavy, its oak staves bound with iron hoops, and it leaves his arms aching by the time he's done. But there's a comfort in this labor, a predictability that anchors him. As he works, though, that fleeting dream from last night lingers, a vague shape he can't quite grasp. It's not fear, not exactly, but a question: why does his sleep, so deep and perfect, feel like it's hiding something today? In the hut, Elfwin is shaping the dough she kneaded earlier into a round loaf. Her hands press and fold, the dough yielding under her fingers like soft clay. She sprinkles a handful of coarse flour on top, just enough to keep it from sticking, and carries it outside to the clay oven. The oven is hot now, its fire stoked with dry branches until the inside glows a faint red. She slides the loaf onto a flat wooden peel, a tool smoothed by years of use, and places it carefully inside. The heat hits her face, a quick wave that makes her squint, but she's used to it. While the bread bakes, she sweeps the hut's dirt floor with a bundle of twigs tied together, pushing dust and stray bits of straw into a pile. Godric and Seinberg are back from gathering kindling, their faces smudged with dirt, and Elfwin sets them to sorting the twigs by size, small ones for starting fires, larger ones for keeping them going. It's a small task, but it keeps them busy, their chatter filling the hut with a soft hum. As Elfwin works, she feels that strange sensation again, the one from her sleep. It's like a thread pulling at her thoughts, faint but persistent. Is it just the quiet of the night working its magic? Or is there something deeper, something tied to the way they live? The village moves at its own steady pace. Across the way, Edith is still churning butter, her hands moving the wooden plunger up and down, in a rhythm as old as Wolfham itself. The cream sloshes in the churn, slowly thickening, and Edith pauses now and then to wipe her brow. Her husband, Wulfric, has finished his fence and is now sharpening his axe on a whetstone, the blade scraping against the stone with a soft, repetitive rasp. Nearby, a group of children chase a leather ball, stuffed with straw, kicking it across the village green until it rolls into a ditch. They laugh and scramble after it, their voices carrying on the breeze. This is Wolfham's heartbeat: work, play, rest, all woven together in a pattern that never changes. Edric and Elfwin are part of it, their lives bound to their neighbors like the threads in Elfwin's spinning. Does this connection, this sense of being part of a whole, help them sleep so soundly? Does knowing that Wulfric will lend a hand, that Edith will share her butter, make their nights more peaceful? Or is there a crack in that peace, a shadow in their dreams that hints at something more? Let's linger on their home for a moment. The hut is small, maybe 10 paces long, its walls made of woven sticks plastered with mud. The roof is straw, thick and tightly bound, but leaks a little when the rain comes hard. Inside, there's a single room where Edric, Elfwin, and their children eat, work, and sleep. The straw mattress lies against one wall, shared by the whole family, with a wool blanket folded at the foot. A wooden chest holds their few possessions: a spare tunic, a bone comb, a small knife for cutting bread. The fire pit is in the center, its smoke curling up to a hole in the roof, leaving a faint haze in the air. Everything is simple, worn, but enough. They don't have much, but they don't need much. Their lives are stripped down to the essentials: work, food, family, sleep. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe the lack of clutter, the absence of endless choices, lets their minds rest as easily as their bodies. But as Elfwind sweeps the floor, she pauses, her hand tightening on the broom. That feeling from her sleep, it's back, stronger now, like a memory she can't quite touch. What is it trying to tell her? The afternoon wears on, and Edric is back in the field, checking his barley for signs of blight. He runs his fingers over the leaves, looking for the telltale spots that mean trouble. The plants look healthy, their green tips swaying in the breeze, but he's careful, methodical, walking each row twice to be sure. The sun is warm now, and sweat beads on his forehead, but he doesn't mind. This is his world, these fields, this soil. He knows every inch of his plot, every dip and rise, every stone that trips his hoe. It's a small life, but it's his, and it's enough. As he works, he thinks about supper, bread, pottage, maybe a bit of cheese if Elfwind saves some. The thought is comforting, another piece of the day's rhythm. But that dream, that shadow, keeps creeping into his thoughts. It's not clear, not something he can name, but it's there like a pebble in his shoe. Is it just his imagination? Or is there something about his sleep, something about Wolfham's quiet nights, that's starting to feel different? Elfwind pulls the bread from the oven now, its crust golden and cracked, the smell filling the air. She sets it on a wooden board to cool, then starts on the pottage, chopping onions and turnips with a small iron knife. The vegetables are tough, grown in the same soil Edric tills, and she cuts them slowly, her hands steady but tired. Godric and Signbird are outside again, feeding the chickens, tossing handfuls of barley to the birds who cluck and peck at the ground. The village is settling into the late afternoon, the lights softening, the air cooling. Soon, the church bells will ring again, calling the villagers to evening prayers. Edric will come home, his hands dirty, his back sore, and they'll eat together, the four of them around the fire. Then, when the sun sets, they'll lie down on their straw mattress, pull the blanket over them, and sleep. That deep, perfect sleep that seems to come so easily. But tonight, as Edric closes his eyes, will that shadow return? Will Elfwind feel that strange pull in her dreams? And what does it mean for the secret of their sleep, the secret that might just change everything? The light is softening now, the sun dipping lower over the fields, casting long shadows across the barley rows where Edric works. He's finished checking for blight and is now repairing a low stone wall that marks the edge of his plot. The stones are uneven, some smooth from years of rain, others jagged and sharp. He lifts each one carefully, fitting it into place like a puzzle, his hands steady despite the ache in his shoulders. The wall doesn't need to be perfect, just enough to keep the sheep from wandering into the crops. He pauses to wipe his brow, his sleeve damp with sweat, and looks out over the village. The huts are scattered like pebbles, their thatched roofs glowing faintly in the fading light. Smoke curls from chimneys, and the distant clatter of a wooden bucket echoes from the stream. This is Edric's world, small and unchanging, and it wraps around him like a familiar cloak. But as he sets another stone in place, that dream from last night flickers in his mind again. A shadow, a shape, something just out of reach. Is it nothing, just the weight of a long day? Or is there something about his sleep, so deep and restful, that's starting to feel different? Inside the hut, Elfwind is stirring the pottage, a thick mix of turnips, onions, and a handful of dried peas. The pot hangs over the fire, its iron sides blackened from years of use. She stirs with a wooden spoon, the handle worn smooth by her grip, and the steam rises in lazy curls, filling the hut with a warm, earthy smell. The bread she baked earlier sits cooling on the wooden board, its crust hard but fragrant. Elfwind cuts a small piece to test, breaking it between her fingers and chewing slowly. It's dense, a little gritty from the coarse flour, but it's good. She sets the rest aside for supper, knowing Edric will be hungry when he comes in from the fields. Godric and Signbird are back inside now, sitting cross-legged on the dirt floor, playing with a set of small wooden figures their grandfather carved years ago. A horse, a cow, a man with a tiny hoe. Their voices are soft, a gentle murmur as they invent stories about the figures. Elfwind listens, her spoon moving in slow circles, but her thoughts drift to last night's sleep. That feeling is still there, faint but persistent, like a whisper in the dark. Is it just the quiet of Wolfham, the stillness of their nights, that makes her sleep so deep? Or is there something else, something stirring beneath the surface? The village is winding down now, the day's work giving way to the evening's calm. Wulfric, Edric's neighbor, is sitting outside his hut, whittling a new handle for a broken rake. The knife moves slowly, shaving thin curls of wood that fall to the ground like autumn leaves. His wife, Edith, is nearby, straining the butter she churned earlier through a piece of coarse cloth, catching the last bits of buttermilk in a clay bowl. The village children, including Godric and Seinberg, have abandoned their ball game and are now helping to herd the sheep back to their pens, their small voices calling out as they wave sticks to guide the animals. The sheep move slowly, their wool thick and matted, their hooves kicking up dust on the path. This is the rhythm of Wolfham, a cycle of work and rest that feels as natural as breathing. Everyone has a role, a place, and no one is alone. Edric and Elfwin are woven into this fabric, their lives tied to their neighbors by shared tasks and quiet moments. Could this be why they sleep so well? Does the certainty of community, the knowledge that help is always near, ease their minds at night? Or is there a secret in their sleep, a thread that Elfwin feels but can't yet name? Let's think about their evenings, because that's when the magic of their sleep begins to take shape. As the sun dips below the horizon, the village grows quiet, the air cooling until it carries a faint chill. Edric trudges back from the fields, his hoe slung over his shoulder, his boots caked with mud. He stops at the stream to wash his hands and face, the water cold against his skin, rippling softly in the twilight. Back at the hut, Elfwin has set out supper, bread, pottage, a small wedge of cheese she traded for at the market last week. The family sits around the fire, the flames low but warm, casting flickering shadows on the walls. They eat slowly, tearing pieces of bread and dipping them in the pottage, their spoons scraping against the wooden bowls. There's little talk, just the soft sounds of chewing and the occasional crackle of fire. Godric and Seinberg are tired, their eyelids heavy from the day's play, and they lean against each other, their small bodies warm under the blanket Elfwin drapes over them. This moment, this quiet togetherness, feels like the heart of Wolfham. Is it this simplicity, this lack of rush, that lets Edric and Elfwin sink into sleep so easily? Or is there something in the firelight, in the stillness, that's starting to shift? The church bells ring again, calling the villagers to evening prayers. Edric and Elfwin leave the children with Edith, who's happy to watch them for a while and join the others walking to the church. The path is dark now, lit only by the faint glow of a few rushlights, reeds dipped in tallow that sputter and smoke. Inside the church, the air is cool, the stone walls holding the day's chill. Father Leofric stands at the front, his voice steady as he leads the prayers, the Latin words rolling over the villagers like a gentle wave. They kneel on the hard floor, their hands clasped, their heads bowed. The prayers are the same every night, a litany of thanks and pleas for protection, for rain, for health. Edric and Elfwin know the rhythm by heart, their lips moving silently even if they don't understand the words. This faith, this routine, is a cornerstone of their lives. It gives them structure, a sense of purpose beyond the fields and the hut. Does it also give them peace, a calm that carries them into sleep? Elfwin thinks so, but as she prays, that strange feeling from her dreams returns, sharper now, like a voice she can almost hear. Back at the hut, the fire is banked for the night, the embers glowing faintly. Edric and Elfwin spread the straw mattress, shaking it to even out the lumps and pull the wool blanket over themselves. Godric and Seinberg are already asleep, curled together like puppies, their breathing soft and steady. The hut is dark, the only light coming from the stars visible through the smoke hole in the roof. The world outside is silent, save for the faint rustle of leaves and the occasional call of a night bird. Edric closes his eyes, his body heavy from the day's work, and feels sleep pulling at him, deep and inevitable. But that shadow is there again, in the corner of his mind, a dream he can't quite hold. Elfwin feels it too, as she drifts off, her hand resting on Edric's arm. What is it about their sleep, so perfect and unbroken, that feels like it's hiding something tonight? And what will they find when they wake, in the quiet of Wolfham's dawn? The darkness has fully settled over Wolfham, wrapping the village in a blanket of stillness. Inside Edric and Elfwin's hut, the fire's embers glow faintly, casting a soft, flickering light across the dirt floor. The straw mattress creaks as Edric shifts, his body sinking into the familiar lumps of the straw, the wool blanket pulled up to his chin. Elfwin lies beside him, her breathing slow and even, her hand still resting lightly on his arm. Godric and Steinberg are curled together at the edge of the mattress, their small bodies tucked under the same blanket, their faces peaceful in sleep. The air in the hut is cool, carrying the faint smell of smoke and earth, and the only sounds are the soft crackle of the embers and the distant hoot of an owl outside. This is the moment when Wolfham truly rests, when the world seems to pause, and sleep comes as naturally as the tide. But as Edric drifts deeper into sleep, that shadow from his dream creeps back, a vague, formless thing that stirs in the back of his mind. It's not enough to wake him, not yet, but it's there like a ripple on still water. What is it about this night, this perfect sleep, that feels just a little off? Let's linger on the hut for a moment, because it's the heart of their world. The walls are sturdy but simple, made of woven sticks and mud, smoothed by Elfwin's hands over years of patching and repair. The straw roof overhead is thick, tied down with ropes to keep it secure against the wind, but it's not perfect on stormy nights. A few drops of rain might sneak through, pattering onto the floor. The smoke hole in the roof lets out the fire's fumes, but it also lets in the cold, and on nights like this, the family huddles close to stay warm. Their possessions are few. A wooden chest in the corner holds a spare tunic, a pair of woolen mittens for winter, and a small clay cup they use for special days. A shelf above the fire holds their cooking tools, a pot, a spoon, a knife with a bone handle. Everything is worn, used, but cared for, each item part of the daily rhythm. This simplicity, this lack of excess, seems to cradle them at night, letting their bodies and minds rest without the clutter we carry today. Could this be part of their secret? Does living with so little, needing so little, make sleep come easier? Or is that shadow in Edric's dream hinting at something deeper, something tied to the very walls of their home? Outside, Wolfham is silent, the village wrapped in the kind of quiet we can barely imagine now. There's no hum of machines, no flicker of artificial light. The stars are bright, scattered across the sky like grains of barley on a threshing floor, but no one is awake to see them. The sheep are in their pens, the chickens roosting in their coops, and even the stream seems to flow more softly, its ripples hushed in the night. This silence is a gift, a stillness that settles over Wolfham like a soft blanket. Edric and Elfwin don't think about it. They've never known anything else, but it shapes their nights. Their minds aren't buzzing with the noise of a modern world. No screens or notifications to keep them awake. They work, they eat, they pray, they sleep. It's a cycle as old as the village itself, as steady as the seasons. But as Elfwin slips deeper into sleep, she feels it again. That whisper from her dreams, stronger now, like a voice calling from far away. It's not fear, not exactly, but a question, a pull that lingers as she drifts off. Is it the silence itself, so deep and unbroken, that's stirring something in her? Or is there a secret in Wolfham's quiet, something hidden in the stillness? Let's think about their sleep itself, because that's what we're chasing here. Edric and Elfwin don't have pillows or soft mattresses, just a sack of straw that crunches when they move. The straw is fresh from last year's harvest, stuffed tightly to keep its shape, but it's not luxurious. It's lumpy, uneven, and yet they sleep on it as if it were a cloud. The wool blanket is heavy, woven by Elfwin's own hands, its fibers coarse but warm. They don't toss and turn, don't wake in the night worrying about tomorrow. Their bodies are tired from the day's work. Edric's from the fields, Elfwin's from the quern and the loom, and that exhaustion pulls them into sleep like a current. But it's more than just physical tiredness. There's a rhythm to their days, a flow that carries them from dawn to dusk and into the night. They don't fight sleep, don't lie awake with racing thoughts. It comes, and they let it take them. But tonight, as Edric dreams, that shadow moves again, clearer now. A figure, perhaps, or a place he knows but can't name. And Elfwyn, in her own dreams, feels that whisper growing, a thread that connects her to something she doesn't yet understand. What are these dreams trying to tell them? The night stretches on, the hours unmarked by clocks or alarms. In Wolfham, time is measured by the sun and the seasons, not by ticking hands. Edric and Elfwyn sleep through the night, their breathing steady, their bodies still. Godric and Steinberg are nestled between them, their small forms warm and soft, their dreams filled with the simple joys of their day. Chasing chickens, playing with wooden figures. The hut is a cocoon, holding them close, shielding them from the cold outside. But the cold is there, seeping through the walls, a reminder that life in Wolfham is not easy. The winters are harsh, the harvests uncertain, and yet they sleep. Night after night, they find rest, deep and unbroken, as if their bodies know something we've forgotten. Is it the straw, the blanket, the silence? Is it the way their lives are tied to the land, to each other, to something bigger? Or is it that shadow, that whisper, that seems to grow stronger with each passing night? As the first hint of dawn creeps through the smoke hole, the embers in the fire pit are nearly gone, just a faint glow in the dark. Edric stirs, his eyes still closed, caught in the last moments of sleep. The dream is there, clearer now, a field, perhaps, or a face, but it slips away as he wakes. Elfwyn opens her eyes, her hand still on his arm, and feels that whisper lingering, like a song she can't quite remember. The village is still asleep, the world quiet, but something feels different this morning. The secret of their sleep, so perfect and deep, is starting to unravel, pulling them towards something they don't yet understand. What is it about this night, this village, this life, that makes their rest so extraordinary? And what will they find when the shadow in their dreams finally takes shape? The first light of dawn is creeping through the smoke hole in Edric and Elfwyn's hut, a faint gray that barely touches the shadows on the dirt floor. Edric lies still, his eyes half open, caught in that hazy space between sleep and waking. The straw mattress beneath him is cool now, the night's chill seeping into the straw, but he doesn't mind. He shifts slightly, the blanket slipping off his shoulder, and feels Elfwyn's warmth beside him. She's awake too, her breathing quiet but alert, her hand still resting on his arm, as if anchoring herself to the morning. Godric and Steinberg are still asleep, their small bodies curled together, their faces soft and untroubled. The hut is silent, save for the faint rustle of straw and the distant crow of the village rooster, signaling the start of another day in Wolfham. But this morning feels different, heavier, as if the shadow from Edric's dream and the whisper in Elfwyn's sleep have left a mark on the air. What is it about their rest, so deep and perfect, that seems to carry a secret they can't yet name? As they rise to face the day, the mystery of their sleep lingers, pulling them into a story that's just beginning to unfold. Edric swings his legs over the side of the mattress and stands, his bare feet cold against the dirt floor. He pulls on his tunic, the wool rough but familiar, and ties his leather belt around his waist. The belt is old, its edges frayed, but it holds a small knife and a pouch for carrying seeds or tools. He steps outside, the air crisp and damp, the village still cloaked in morning mist. The fields are waiting, their green shoots barely visible through the fog, and Edric knows his day will be filled with the same tasks as always: tilling, weeding, checking the barley for signs of rot. But as he walks toward the stream to splash water on his face, his mind keeps drifting back to that dream. It was a field, he thinks, not his own but familiar, with a figure standing at the edge, too far to see clearly. The image fades as he tries to hold it, like mist slipping through his fingers, but it leaves a quiet unease. Was it just a trick of sleep, or is there something in Wolfham's nights, in the deep rest he's always taken for granted, that's trying to speak? Elfwin is up now, kneeling by the fire pit, coaxing the embers back to life with a handful of dry twigs. The flames catch slowly, their light dancing across her face, and she adds a small log, watching as the bark curls and blackens. She's thinking about her own dream, that whisper that felt like a voice calling her name. It wasn't loud, not like the church bells or the children's laughter, but soft, persistent, as if it came from the earth itself. She shakes her head, pushing the thought away, and starts preparing breakfast, leftover bread from yesterday, softened with a bit of ale and a handful of dried apples she's been saving. Godric and Steinberg stir, their eyes blinking open, and Elfwin calls them to eat, her voice gentle but firm. They sit cross-legged by the fire, chewing slowly, their small hands clutching the bread. Elfwin watches them, her heart warm but heavy. She's always slept well, her body sinking into the straw each night like a stone into water. But this morning, that whisper clings to her, a thread she can't untangle. Is it the quiet of their life, the simplicity of their days, that makes their sleep so deep? Or is there something else, something hidden in the rhythm of Wolfham? The village is waking now, the mist lifting as the sun climbs higher. Wulfric is already outside his hut, feeding his pigs, tossing handfuls of barley husks into their pen. The pigs snort and shuffle, their bristly backs brushing against the wooden fence. Edith is nearby, drawing water from the stream with a wooden bucket, her apron tied tightly around her waist. The stream is clear today, its current slow, and Edith hums a tune as she works, the same one Elfwin was humming yesterday. It's a song about the seasons, about planting and reaping, passed down through the village like a well-worn tool. Edric nods to Wulfric as he passes, their greeting brief but warm, a habit born of years as neighbors. This is Wolfham's strength, this web of small connections. Shared work, shared songs, shared lives. Edric and Elfwin are never alone, not really, and that knowledge is a comfort, a weight that steadies them. But as Edric reaches his field, his hoe in hand, he wonders if that comfort is enough to explain his sleep. Why does it feel so perfect, so complete, yet shadowed by something he can't name? Is it the community, the land, or something deeper, stirring in the quiet of their nights? Let's pause on the land itself, because it's the heartbeat of Wolfham. The fields stretch out around the village, divided into strips that belong to each family. Edric's strip is narrow, maybe 15 paces wide, its soil dark and heavy with clay. He knows every inch of it, every root that snags his hoe, every patch where the barley grows thin. The land demands everything, his time, his strength, his patience, but it gives back too, in the form of grain, vegetables, life. The seasons rule here, each one bringing its own tasks, planting in spring, harvesting in summer, resting in winter. Edric's life is tied to this cycle, his days shaped by the sun's rise and fall, the rains coming and going. It's a hard life, no question, but it's clear, uncomplicated. He doesn't lie awake worrying about things he can't control, not the way we do. His worries are real. Will the harvest be enough? Will the Lord take too much? But they're tied to the land, to the life he knows. Could this be the key to his sleep? Does living so close to the earth, moving with its rhythms, let his body rest as naturally as the fields in winter? Or is that shadow in his dream a sign of something else, a crack in the land's quiet promise? Elfwin is back at her corner now, grinding barley into flour for the day's bread. The stones scrape together, a low, steady sound that fills the hut. Her arms move in circles, her shoulders aching but strong, as she loses herself in the work, her thoughts drifting. She's thinking about the church, about Father Leofric's prayers last night, the way the Latin words washed over her like a river. Faith is a constant in Wolfham, a light that guides them through the dark. They pray for rain, for health, for protection from the wolves that sometimes come too close in winter. Elfwin believes, deeply, that there's a plan, a purpose, even when life is hard. That belief is part of her, as much as the quern or the fire. Does it help her sleep, this trust in something bigger? Does it quiet her mind, letting her sink into the straw each night without fear? But as she grinds, that whisper from her dream returns, sharper now, like a name she almost knows. It's not fear, not yet, but it's there, pulling at her, making her wonder what lies beneath their perfect rest. The morning moves on, the village settling into its familiar rhythm. Edric is in the field, his hoe breaking the soil, his breath steady as he works. Elfwin is shaping dough, her hands dusted with flour, her children playing nearby. Wulfric and Edith are at their tasks, their voices blending with the sounds of the village, clucking chickens, creaking carts, the soft rush of the stream. Wolfham is alive, but quiet, its people bound by work and faith and land. Yet Edric and Elfwin feel something new today, a shadow and a whisper that linger from their sleep. What is it about their nights, their deep, unbroken rest, that seems to hold a secret? And as the sun climbs higher, will that secret start to take shape, pulling them deeper into the mystery of Wolfham's perfect sleep? The sun is higher now, burning away the last of the morning mist, and Edric is knee-deep in his field, his hoe slicing through the soil with a steady thud. The barley shoots are growing stronger, their green tips swaying in a light breeze, and he pauses to check each row, his fingers brushing the leaves for signs of pests. A small beetle crawls across one stalk, and he flicks it away with a practiced motion, his eyes scanning for more. The work is monotonous, the same as yesterday and the day before, but Edric finds comfort in it. Each swing of the hoe, each step along the furrow, is part of a rhythm that ties him to the land, to Wolfham, to the life he's always known. His tunic is damp with sweat, the wool clinging to his back, but he barely notices. His mind is half on the barley, half on that dream from last night, the field, the figure at the edge, too distant to recognize. It's clearer now, not just a shadow, but a presence, someone or something watching him. He shakes his head, trying to focus on the soil, but the unease lingers. Is it just his tired mind playing tricks? Or is there something in the deep, perfect sleep he's always trusted, something that's starting to feel alive? Back at the hut, Elfwin is kneading dough for the day's bread, her hands pressing and folding the sticky mass on a wooden board. The flour dusts her fingers, settling into the creases of her knuckles, and she works with a steady rhythm, her arms strong from years of this task. The quern sits nearby, its stones still warm from grinding, and the faint smell of barley fills the air, mixing with the smoke from the fire. Godric and Seinberg are outside, helping Edith carry water from the stream, their small buckets sloshing as they walk. Elfwin can hear their voices, bright and chattering, and it brings a small smile to her face. But her thoughts keep drifting to her dream, that whisper that felt like a voice calling her name. It's stronger today, not just a sound, but a feeling, like a hand brushing her shoulder in the dark. She pauses, her hands still in the dough, and looks toward the fire, its flames low but steady. Is it the simplicity of their life, the endless cycle of work and rest, that makes her sleep so deep? Or is that whisper a sign of something else, something hidden in the quiet of Wolfham's nights? The village moves on, its rhythm unbroken. Wulfric is in his own field now, repairing a wooden plow with a hammer and a few iron nails. The plow's blade is worn, its edge dulled from years of turning the heavy soil, but Wulfric is patient, tapping each nail carefully into place. Edith is back at their hut, spinning wool like Elfwin, her drop spindle twirling in her hand as she hums that same old tune about the seasons. The village children are scattered across the green, some chasing a stray chicken, others gathering sticks for their family's fires. The sounds of Wolfham blend together, clucking, hammering, the soft rush of the stream, like a song that never changes. This is the life Edric and Elfwin know, a life of shared work and shared burdens. They're never alone, not really, and that connection runs deep, tying them to their neighbors, to the land, to the church at the village's heart. Could this be why they sleep so well? This sense of belonging, this web of community that holds them close? Or is there something in that web, something in the quiet bonds of Wolfham, that's starting to unravel in their dreams? Let's think about the church for a moment, because it's more than just a building in Wolfham. It's the center of their world, a place of faith and comfort. The stone walls are rough, built by hands long gone, and the wooden cross above the door is weathered but sturdy. Every evening, Edric and Elfwin join their neighbors there, kneeling on the cold floor as Father Leofric leads the prayers. His voice is steady, the Latin words rolling out like a river, and even if they don't understand the meaning, they feel the weight of it. The prayers are for protection, for rain, for the souls of those they've lost, like Edric's brother, taken by fever, or Elfwin's mother, who died when Sveinberg was born. Faith is a light in Wolfham, a beacon that guides them through the hardships of their lives. Edric believes, deeply, that there's a purpose to it all, even when the harvest is thin or the winter too long. Elfwin feels it too, her heart steady as she prays, but that whisper from her dream is there, even in the church, like a shadow cast by the rushlights. Does their faith, their trust in something bigger, help them sleep so soundly? Or is that whisper a sign that their faith is being tested, that something is stirring in the quiet of their rest? The land around Wolfham is waking up now, the fields buzzing with small insects, the streams sparkling in the sunlight. Edric moves to another row, his hoe digging deeper, turning up dark, rich earth. He stops to check a patch where the barley looks weak, its leaves pale and drooping. He kneels, sifting the soil through his fingers, feeling for dampness or rot. The land is everything here. It feeds them, shapes them, binds them together. But it's demanding, too, taking their strength and giving only what it chooses. Edric knows this, accepts it, just as he accepts the ache in his back or the weight of the Lord's taxes. His life is simple, tied to the seasons, to the rise and fall of the sun. He doesn't worry about tomorrow, not the way we do, with our endless plans and fears. His tomorrow is the same as today: work, eat, pray, sleep. But as he stands, brushing dirt from his hands, that dream comes back, the figure at the edge of the field clearer now, almost familiar. Is it someone he knows, someone from Wolfham's past? Or is it something else, something tied to the land itself, to the deep, perfect sleep that feels less certain today? Elfwin is shaping the dough now, her hands forming it into a round loaf, her fingers quick but careful. She'll bake it soon, in the clay oven outside, its heat warming the air around the hut. Godric and Sveinberg are back, their buckets empty, their faces flushed from running. They sit by the fire, playing with their wooden figures, their voices soft as they invent new stories. Elfwin listens, her heart full, but that whisper is still there, pulling at her thoughts. It's not just a dream now, but a feeling, a weight that settles in her chest. The morning moves on, Wolfham alive with its quiet rhythm. But Edric and Elfwin are caught in something new, a shadow, a whisper, a secret in their sleep that's starting to take shape. What is it about their nights, their deep, medieval rest, that holds this mystery? And as the day unfolds, will they come closer to the truth, or will it slip further into the dark? The sun is climbing toward its peak now, warming the fields where Edric works, his home moving in a steady arc through the soil. The barley shoots are growing stronger, their green tips swaying in the light breeze, and he pauses to check each row, his fingers brushing the leaf for signs of pests. A small beetle crawls across one stalk, and he flicks it away with a practiced motion, his eyes scanning for more. The work is monotonous, the same as yesterday and the day before, but Edric finds comfort in it. Each swing of the hoe, each step along the furrow, is part of a rhythm that ties him to the land, to Wolfham, to the life he's always known. His tunic is damp with sweat, the wool clinging to his back, but he barely notices. His mind is half on the barley, half on that dream from last night. The field, the figure at the edge, too distant to recognize. It's clearer now, not just a shadow, but a presence, someone or something watching him. He shakes his head, trying to focus on the soil, but the unease lingers. Is it just his tired mind playing tricks? Or is there something in the deep, perfect sleep he's always trusted, something that's starting to feel alive? In the hut, Elfwin is sliding the dough into the clay oven outside, the heat hitting her face as she pushes the loaf in with a wooden peel. The oven is old, its clay walls cracked but sturdy, and the fire inside burns low, just enough to bake the bread to a golden crust. She wipes her hands on her apron, the coarse linen dusted with flour, and steps back inside to start on the next task, mending a tear in Godric's tunic. She sits by the fire, a bone needle in one hand, a length of woolen thread in the other, and begins to stitch, her movements slow and precise. The needle moves in and out, pulling the thread through the fabric with a soft tug. Godric and Seinberg are nearby, sorting a pile of dried herbs Elfwin gathered last week. Thyme and sage, their sharp scents filling the air. The children work quietly, their small hands careful as they separate the leaves from the stems. Elfwin watches them, her heart steady, but that whisper from her dream is back, clearer now, like a voice she almost recognizes. It's not loud, not threatening, but it's there, weaving through her thoughts like the thread through the cloth. Is it the simplicity of their life, the endless cycle of work and rest, that makes her sleep so deep? Or is that whisper a sign of something else, something hidden in the quiet of Wolfham's nights? The village moves on, its rhythm unbroken. Wulfric is in his own field now, repairing a wooden plow with a hammer and a few iron nails. The plow's blade is worn, its edge dulled from years of turning the heavy soil, but Wulfric is patient, tapping each nail carefully into place. Edith is back at their hut, spinning wool like Elfwin, her dropped spindle twirling in her hand as she hums that same old tune about the seasons. The village children are scattered across the green, some chasing a stray chicken, others gathering sticks for their family's fires. The sounds of Wolfham blend together, clucking, hammering, the soft rush of the stream, like a song that never changes. This is the life Edric and Elfwin know, a life of shared work and shared burdens. They're never alone, not really, and that connection runs deep, tying them to their neighbors, to the land, to the church at the village's heart. Could this be why they sleep so well? This sense of belonging, this web of community that holds them close? Or is there something in that web, something in the quiet bonds of Wolfham that's starting to unravel in their dreams? Let's think about the church for a moment, because it's more than just a building in Wolfham. It's the center of their world, a place of faith and comfort. The stone walls are rough, built by hands long gone, and the wooden cross above the door is weathered but sturdy. Every evening, Edric and Elfwin join their neighbors there, kneeling on the cold floor as Father Leofric leads the prayers. His voice is steady, the Latin words rolling out like a river, and even if they don't understand the meaning, they feel the weight of it. The prayers are for protection, for rain, for the souls of those they've lost, like Edric's brother, taken by fever, or Elfwin's mother, who died when Seinberg was born. Faith is a light in Wolfham, a beacon that guides them through the hardships of their lives. Edric believes, deeply, that there's a purpose to it all, even when the harvest is thin or the winter too long. Elfwin feels it too, her heart steady as she prays, but that whisper from her dream is there, even in the church, like a shadow cast by the rushlights. Does their faith, their trust in something bigger, help them sleep so soundly? Or is that whisper a sign that their faith is being tested, that something is stirring in the quiet of their rest? The land around Wolfham is waking up now, the fields buzzing with small insects, the streams sparkling in the sunlight. Edric moves to another row, his hoe digging deeper, turning up dark, rich earth. He stops to check a patch where the soil feels too dry, scooping a handful to test its weight. The land is everything here. It feeds them, shapes them, binds them together. But it's demanding, too, taking their strength and giving only what it chooses. Edric knows this, accepts it, just as he accepts the ache in his back or the weight of the Lord's taxes. His life is simple, tied to the seasons, to the rise and fall of the sun. He doesn't worry about tomorrow, not the way we do with our endless plans and fears. His tomorrow is the same as today: work, eat, pray, sleep. But as he stands, brushing dirt from his hands, that dream comes back, the figure at the edge of the field clearer now, almost familiar. Is it someone he knows, someone from Wolfham's past? Or is it something else, something tied to the land itself, to the deep, perfect sleep that feels less certain today? Elfwin is shaping the dough now, her hands forming it into a round loaf, her fingers quick but careful. She'll bake it soon, in the clay oven outside, its heat warming the air around the hut. Godric and Steinberg are back, their buckets empty, their faces flushed from running. They sit by the fire, playing with their wooden figures, their voices soft as they invent new stories. Elfwin listens, her heart full, but that whisper is still there, pulling at her thoughts. It's not just a dream now, but a feeling, a weight that settles in her chest. The morning moves on, Wolfham alive with its quiet, medieval rhythm, but Edric and Elfwin are caught in something new. A shadow, a whisper, a secret in their sleep that's starting to take shape. What is it about their nights, their deep, restful slumber, that holds this mystery? And as the bells ring for prayers, will they come closer to understanding, or will the mystery slip deeper into the dark? The sun is nearing its zenith over Wolfham, casting a warm glow across the fields where Edric toils, his home moving in a steady rhythm through the earth. The barley sways gently, its green tips catching the light, but Edric's mind is only half on his work. That dream from last night, the field, the figure at the edge, has grown sharper, its details nagging at him like a splinter. The figure was tall, cloaked, standing in a mist that wasn't Wolfham's, yet felt familiar, like a place he'd known as a child. He pauses, wiping sweat from his brow, and glances toward the village, where smoke curls from the huts and the faint clang of Wulfric's hammer echoes. The dream feels alive now, not just a shadow but a presence, pulling at the edges of his deep, medieval sleep. Is it a warning, a memory, or something tied to the land itself? Edric shakes his head, trying to focus on the soil, but the unease grows, a quiet conflict stirring within him. Why does his rest, so perfect and unbroken, feel like it's hiding a truth he's not ready to face? In the hut, Elfwin pulls the golden loaf from the clay oven, its crust cracking softly as it cools on the wooden board. She's mending Godric's tunic now, her bone needle weaving through the wool, but her thoughts are on that whisper from her dream. It's not just a sound anymore. It's a voice, soft and urgent, calling her name as if from a distance. She glances at Godric and Steinberg, who are sorting herbs by the fire, their small hands separating time from sage. Their chatter is a comfort, but it can't drown out the whisper, which feels like it's woven into the quiet of Wolfham's nights. Elfwin's heart is steady, her faith in the village's rhythm unshaken, but the whisper is a crack in that faith, a question she can't ignore. Is it the simplicity of their life, the endless cycle of work and rest, that makes her sleep so deep? Or is there a conflict beneath that rest, a secret tied to the village itself, stirring in the stillness of their medieval slumber? The village moves on, its rhythm as steady as the stream that runs through it, but new threads of tension are weaving through Wolfham. Wulfric, working in his field, has his own unease. Last night, he woke briefly, his heart pounding, though he couldn't say why. He hasn't told Edith, not wanted to worry her, but as he hammers a nail into his plow, he wonders if it's just old age or something else. He's heard stories from his grandfather, tales of Wolfham's past, whispers of a time when the land was troubled, when dreams carried warnings no one heeded. Wulfric pushes the thought away, but it lingers, a subplot that ties him to Edric and Elfwin's mystery. Is it just a coincidence, this shared restlessness, or is something stirring in the village's deep, collective sleep? Wulfric glances toward Edric's field, wondering if his neighbor feels it too, but he says nothing, his hammer striking another nail with a dull thud. Edith, back at her hut, is spinning wool, her dropped spindle twirling in her hand. She's humming that old tune about the seasons, but her voice falters as she thinks about her daughter, Alina, who left Wolfham 2 years ago to marry a man in a neighboring village. Edith misses her, the ache of quiet conflict that surfaces in the stillness of the night. She sleeps well, like everyone in Wolfham, but her dreams are heavy with Alina's face, her laughter fading into silence. Edith wonders if Alina sleeps as deeply in her new home, or if the distance has changed her rest. As she spins, she overhears 2 village women by the stream talking about strange dreams, fields, figures, whispers. Edith pauses, her spindle slowing, and feels a chill. Is it just gossip, the kind that spreads like wildfire in a small village? Or is there a truth in these stories, a connection to the perfect sleep that binds Wolfham together, now fraying at the edges? Edric moves to another row, his hoe digging deeper, the earth yielding under his strength. The land is everything in Wolfham. It feeds them, shapes their days, binds them to the seasons. But today, it feels different, as if it's watching him. He stops to check a patch where the barley is thinning, its leaves pale despite the rich soil. He kneels, sifting the earth through his fingers, and notices something, a small, smooth stone, unlike the others, almost warm to the touch. He slips it in his pouch, unsure why, but it feels important, like a piece of his dream. The land has always been steady, a foundation for his life, but now it seems to hold a secret, a conflict tied to the figure in his sleep. Is it the land itself, whispering through his dreams, or something older, buried in Wolfham's past? Edric stands, his heart heavy, and keeps working, the hoe moving in its endless rhythm, but the tension builds, a question he can't yet answer. Elfwyn finishes her mending and starts on the pottage, chopping turnips with a small iron knife. The blade is dull, scraping more than cutting, but she's patient, her hand steady. Godric and Steinberg are done with the herbs and are now playing outside, chasing each other with sticks, their laughter bright in the midday air. Elfwyn listens, her heart full, but the whisper is louder now, almost a word, a name she can't quite catch. She pauses, the knife still in her hand, and looks toward the church, its stone walls visible through the open door. Faith has always been her guide, a light through the hardships of their medieval life. But this whisper feels like it's coming from beyond the church, from the land or the air or the quiet itself. Is it a test, a challenge to her belief, or something else, a truth hidden in the deep, restful sleep she's always trusted? She shakes her head, resuming her chopping, but the conflict grows, a shadow that follows her through the day. The church bells ring, calling the villagers to midday prayers, and Edric sets down his hoe, brushing dirt from his hands. He joins the others walking to the church, Elfwyn among them, her apron still dusted with flour. Father Leofric greets them at the door, his face kind but tired, as if he, too, has slept less soundly than usual. The villagers kneel, the stone floor cold under their knees, and Leofric's voice fills the air, the Latin prayers rolling out in a familiar cadence. Edric and Elfwyn bow their heads, their hands clasped, but their thoughts are elsewhere, on fields, figures, whispers. The prayers are for protection, for the harvest, but today they feel heavier, as if the church itself senses the tension in Wolfham. Leofric pauses, his eyes lingering on the congregation, and Edric wonders if the priest knows something, if he's heard the same whispers in his own sleep. Is faith enough to quiet this mystery, to keep their rest unbroken? Or is the conflict deeper, tied to the village's past, to the land that holds them all? The day moves on, Wolfham alive with its quiet rhythm, but the tension builds. Edric returns to his field, the stone in his pouch a small weight against his hip. Elfwyn stirs the pottage, the whisper in her mind growing clearer, almost a voice. Wulfric hammers another nail, his thoughts on old stories, while Edith spins wool, her heart heavy with thoughts of Alina. The village is a web of lives, bound by work, faith, and land, but something is stirring, a secret in their deep, medieval sleep that's starting to take shape. What is it about their nights, their perfect rest, that holds this truth? And as the sun begins to dip, will Edric and Elfwin come closer to the figure, the whisper, or will the mystery deepen, pulling Wolfham into its quiet, restless heart? The church bells fade into silence as the villagers of Wolfham file out of the small stone building, their footsteps soft on the worn path back to their tasks. The sun is dipping lower now, casting a golden glow over the fields and thatched roofs, and the air carries the faint chill of early evening. Edric walks back to his barley plot, his hands still dusty from the soil, the strange stone in his pouch a quiet weight against his hip. The dream from last night, the cloaked figure in the misty field, feels closer now, its edges sharper, as if it's trying to tell him something about the deep, medieval sleep he's always taken for granted. He picks up his hoe, its handle worn smooth by years of use, and resumes his work, but his mind is elsewhere, caught in the growing tension of a mystery that seems to pulse beneath Wolfham's quiet rhythm. Is this figure a ghost from the village's past, a warning from the land, or just a trick of his tired mind? The conflict deepens, a shadow that follows him through the rows, making his perfect rest feel less certain with each passing moment. In the hut, Elfwin is stirring the pottage over the fire, the iron pot heavy with turnips and peas. The steam rises in lazy curls, filling the hut with a warm, earthy smell, and she adjusts the fire, adding a small log to keep the flames steady. Godric and Seinberg are outside, playing with a wooden hoop they roll with sticks, their laughter bright against the softening light. Elfwin listens, her heart full, but that whisper from her dream is louder now, almost a word, a name she can nearly grasp. It's like a voice from the edge of the village, calling her to look closer, to see something hidden in the quiet of their nights. She sets the spoon down, wiping her hands on her apron, and steps to the door, looking out at the village. The huts are scattered, their roofs glowing in the fading sun, and the stream glints like a ribbon of silver. Wolfham is peaceful, its rhythm unbroken, but Elfwin feels a pull, a conflict stirring in her chest. Is it the simplicity of their life, the cycle of work and faith, that makes her sleep so deep? Or is this whisper a sign of something older, something woven into the fabric of Wolfham's restful, medieval slumber? The village carries on, its people moving through their tasks with the ease of habit. Wulfric is finishing his work on the plow, testing the blade with his thumb to ensure it's sharp enough for tomorrow's field. He's quieter than usual, his thoughts heavy with the stories his grandfather told. Tales of a time when Wolfham's sleep was troubled, when dreams carried omens that led to hardship. He hasn't shared this with Edric or Edith, not wanting to stir worry, but the memory of his own restless night weighs on him. Was it just a fleeting moment, or is it connected to the unease he sees in Edric's eyes, the way his neighbor pauses in the field, staring at nothing? Wulfric's subplot deepens, a thread of doubt that ties him to the village's mystery, making him wonder if the perfect sleep they all share is hiding something no one dares name. He sets the plow aside, brushing sawdust from his hands, and glances toward the church, its cross a dark silhouette against the sky. Is faith enough to keep this shadow at bay? Or is something stirring in Wolfham's quiet nights? Edith is by the stream now, rinsing a pile of wool in the cold water, her hands red from the chill. She's thinking of Alina again, her daughter who left Wolfham for a new life. The ache is a quiet conflict, a longing that surfaces when the village grows still. Edith sleeps well, like everyone in Wolfham, but her dreams are filled with Alina's face, her voice fading into the distance. Yesterday, she overheard the women by the stream again, their talk of strange dreams, fields, figures, whispers, growing louder, more urgent. Edith didn't join in, but their words stayed with her, a seed of worry planted in her mind. She wrings out the wool, the water dripping between her fingers. System, I'm sorry, but it looks like your message got cut off. No worries, I'll pick up the story right where we left off and write the next 1,000 words, diving deeper into the main conflict. the mysterious dreams disrupting Wolfham's perfect sleep, while developing subplots and perspectives to keep the tension building. I'll keep the tone suspenseful yet soothing, natural, and human-centric, ensuring it's engaging and compliant with YouTube's policies. Relevant keywords like sleep, medieval, village, rest, and faith will be woven in naturally. Since the previous section ended with Edith by the stream, I'll continue from there, exploring the growing unease in Wolfham. Edith, her hands still damp from rinsing wool in the stream's icy flow, wrings out the last of the bundle, the water dripping steadily into the grass at her feet. The late afternoon sun casts a golden sheen over Wolfham, but the warmth does little to ease the chill in her heart. Thoughts of her daughter, Alina, linger, a quiet ache that tugs at her. Whenever the village falls still, her dreams heavy with memories of Alina's laughter fading into silence. The gossip she overheard, those hushed tales of strange dreams shared by the women at the stream, clings to her like damp wool. Fields, figures, whispers in the night. It's not just idle talk anymore. It's a thread connecting her to Elfwyn and Edric, to the growing unease that ripples through Wolfham's perfect medieval sleep. She glances toward Elfwyn's hut, wondering if her old friend feels it too, this shadow creeping into their restful nights. Edith hangs the wool to dry on a low wooden rack, her movements slow, deliberate, but her mind is restless, caught between longing for her daughter and a nagging fear that the village's deep slumber hides a truth no one is ready to face. Is it just her heart, heavy with absence, or is something stirring in the quiet, a conflict tied to Wolfham itself? Across the village, Edric is still in his field, the barley swaying gently under the fading light. The stones in his pouch, smooth, warm, unlike any he's found before, feel heavier now, a tangible link to the dream that haunts him. The cloaked figure in the misty field is clearer in his mind, its outline sharp enough to make his breath catch. It's not just a shadow anymore. It's a man, tall and silent, standing at the edge of a place that feels like Wolfham but isn't. Edric kneels, digging through the soil, and finds another stone, smaller but just as smooth, its surface catching the light like polished bone. He adds it to his pouch, the weight pulling at his belt, and stands, his eyes scanning the horizon. The land has always been his anchor, its seasons shaping his work, his rest, his life. But now it feels alive, whispering through the barley, as if the earth itself is part of the mystery. Is this the conflict at Wolfham's heart, a secret buried in the soil, tied to the deep, restful sleep that cradles the village? Or is it something older, a memory the land holds that's seeping into his dreams? Elfwyn steps back into the hut, the pottage simmering low, its earthy scent mingling with the faint smoke from the fire. She calls Godric and Seinberg inside, their wooden hoop abandoned as they tumble in, faces flushed from play. She kneels to wipe their hands with a damp cloth, her touch gentle but firm, listening to their chatter about the chickens they chased earlier. But her thoughts are elsewhere, caught on the whisper that's grown into a voice, clear and urgent, calling her name from a place she can't see. It's not just a dream now. It's a presence, a pull that feels like it's woven into the quiet of Wolfham's nights. She glances toward the church, its stone walls a steady presence in the village's rhythm, and wonders if Father Leofric has sensed it too, this unease that taints their perfect, medieval slumber. Faith has always been her guide, a light through the hardships of their life. Lean harvests, cold winters. But this whisper feels like it comes from beyond the church, from the land or the air itself. Is it a test of her belief, a challenge to the peace she finds in sleep? Or is it a truth, hidden in the deep rest she's always trusted, now stirring like a storm on the horizon? Wulfric, his plow repaired, carries it to the shed behind his hut, his steps slow, his mind heavy with old stories. His grandfather's tales, of a time when Wolfham's sleep was troubled, when dreams carried warnings of blight or strife, feel less like folklore now. Last night's restless moment, his heart pounding in the dark, lingers like a bruise. He hasn't told Edith or Edric, not wanting to stir fear, but he sees it in their eyes. Edric's pauses in the field, Elfwin's quiet glances toward the church. Wulfric's own conflict deepens, a subplot that binds him to the village's mystery. Is it just age, or is the perfect sleep they share hiding a secret? He sets the plow down, brushing sawdust from his hands, and looks toward the oak tree at the village's edge, its branches heavy with acorns. His grandfather said the tree was old even in his time, planted when Wulfham was young, its roots deep in the land's history. Could the answer lie there, in the stories of the past, or in the quiet, restful nights that now feel unsettled? Father Leofric, lingering at the church door after prayers, watches the villagers return to their tasks. His face is kind but worn, his eyes carrying a weight he hasn't shared. Last night, he too woke briefly, his sleep, usually deep and unbroken, touched by a dream of a field, a figure, a whisper. He hasn't spoken of it, but he's heard the women's talk by the stream, seen the unease in Edric's stance, felt the shift in Elfwin's prayers. The church is Wulfham's heart, its faith a beacon through their medieval lives. But even Leofric feels the tension, a conflict stirring in the village's quiet slumber. He adjusts his robe, its coarse fabric brushing his hands, and steps inside to light the rushlights for evening prayers. The Latin words he'll recite are familiar, a comfort, but they feel heavier now, as if the church itself senses the mystery. Is faith enough to hold this shadow at bay? Or is the secret tied to something older, something buried in Wulfham's past, now waking in their dreams? Edric finds another stone in the field, its surface smooth and warm, like the others in his pouch. He turns it over, its weight grounding him, but the dream, the cloaked figure, the misty field, feels closer, as if the land is speaking. He kneels, sifting through the soil, and finds a small shard of pottery, its edge worn but etched with a faint pattern, unlike anything he's seen in Wulfham. His heart quickens. Is this a relic of the village's past, a clue to the figure in his sleep? The land is everything, feeding them, shaping their rest. But now it feels alive, its secrets seeping into their deep, medieval slumber. Elfwin, stirring the pottage, feels the whisper grow, a voice now clear enough to make her pause, her spoon still in the pot. Godric and Steinberg laugh outside, their voices a bright thread in the village's rhythm, but the whisper pulls at her, a name she almost knows. Wulfham moves on, its people bound by work, faith, and land, but the tension builds, a secret stirring in their perfect rest. What lies beneath their quiet, restful nights? And as the evening bells prepare to ring, will Edric's stones, Elfwin's whisper, draw them closer to the truth or deeper into the shadow that haunts Wulfham's heart? Word count 1,000. Edith, her hands still damp from rinsing wool in the stream's icy flow, wrings out the last of the bundle, the water dripping steadily into the grass at her feet. The late afternoon sun casts a golden sheen over Wulfham, but the warmth does little to ease the chill in her heart. Thoughts of her daughter, Alina, linger, a quiet ache that tugs at her whenever the village falls still, her dreams heavy with memories of Alina's laughter fading into silence. The gossip she overheard, those hushed tales of strange dreams shared by the women at the stream, clings to her like damp wool. Fields, figures, whispers in the night. It's not just idle talk anymore. It's a thread connecting her to Elfwin and Edric, to the growing unease that ripples through Wulfham's perfect medieval sleep. She glances toward Elfwin's hut, wondering if her old friend feels it too, this shadow creeping into their restful nights. Edith hangs the wool to dry on a low wooden rack, her movements slow, deliberate, but her mind is restless, caught between longing for her daughter and a nagging fear that the village's deep slumber hides a truth no one is ready to face. Is it just her heart, heavy with absence, or is something stirring in the quiet, a conflict tied to Wulfham itself? Across the village, Edric is still in his field, the barley swaying gently under the fading light. The stones in his pouch, smooth, warm, unlike any he's found before, feel heavier now, a tangible link to the dream that haunts him. The cloaked figure in the misty field is clearer in his mind, its outline sharp enough to make his breath catch. It's not just a shadow anymore. It's a man, tall and silent, standing at the edge of a place that feels like Wolfham but isn't. Edric kneels, digging through the soil, and finds another stone, smaller but just as smooth, its surface catching the light like polished bone. He adds it to his pouch, the weight pulling at his belt, and stands, his eyes scanning the horizon. The land has always been his anchor, its seasons shaping his work, his rest, his life. But now it feels alive, whispering through the barley, as if the earth itself is part of the mystery. Is this the conflict at Wolfham's heart, a secret buried in the soil, tied to the deep, restful sleep that cradles the village? Or is it something older, a memory the land holds that's seeping into his dreams? Elfwin steps back into the hut, the pottage simmering low, its earthy scent mingling with the faint smoke from the fire. She calls Godric and Seinberg inside, their wooden hoop abandoned as they tumble in, faces flushed from play. She kneels to wipe their hands with a damp cloth, her touch gentle but firm, listening to their chatter about the chickens they chased earlier. But her thoughts are elsewhere, caught on the whisper that's grown into a voice, clear and urgent, calling her name from a place she can't see. It's not just a dream now. It's a presence, a pull that feels like it's woven into the quiet of Wolfham's nights. She glances toward the church, its stone walls a steady presence in the village's rhythm, and wonders if Father Leofric has sensed it too, this unease that taints their perfect, medieval slumber. Faith has always been her guide, a light through the hardships of their life. Lean harvests, cold winters, but this whisper feels like it comes from beyond the church, from the land or the air itself. Is it a test of her belief, a challenge to the peace she finds in sleep? Or is it a truth, hidden in the deep rest she's always trusted, now stirring like a storm on the horizon? Wulfric, his plow repaired, carries it to the shed behind his hut, his steps slow, his mind heavy with old stories. His grandfather's tales, of a time when Wolfham's sleep was troubled, when dreams carried warnings of blight or strife, feel less like folklore now. Last night's restless moment, his heart pounding in the dark, lingers like a bruise. He hasn't told Edith or Edric, not wanting to stir fear, but he sees it in their eyes. Edric's pauses in the field, Elfwin's quiet glances toward the church. Wulfric's own conflict deepens, a subplot that binds him to the village's mystery. Is it just age, or is the perfect sleep they share hiding a secret? He sets the plow down, brushing sawdust from his hands, and looks toward the oak tree at the village's edge, its branches heavy with acorns. His grandfather said the tree was old even in his time, planted when Wolfham was young, its roots deep in the land's history. Could the answer lie there, in the stories of the past, or in the quiet, restful nights that now feel unsettled? Father Leofric, lingering at the church door after prayers, watches the villagers return to their tasks. His face is kind but worn, his eyes carrying a weight he hasn't shared. Last night, he too woke briefly, his sleep, usually deep and unbroken, touched by a dream of a field, a figure, a whisper. He hasn't spoken of it, but he's heard the women's talk by the stream, seen the unease in Edric's stance, felt the shift in Elfwin's prayers. The church is Wolfham's heart, its faith a beacon through their medieval lives. But even Leofric feels the tension, a conflict stirring in the village's quiet slumber. He adjusts his robe, its coarse fabric brushing his hands, and steps inside to light the rushlights for evening prayers. The Latin words he'll recite are familiar, a comfort, but they feel heavier now, as if the church itself senses the mystery. Is faith enough to hold this shadow at bay? Or is the secret tied to something older, something buried in Wolfham's past, now waking in their dreams? Edric finds another stone in the field, its surface smooth and warm, like the others in his pouch. He turns it over, its weight grounding him, but the dream, the cloaked figure, the misty field, feels closer, as if the land is speaking. He kneels, sifting through the soil, and finds a small shard of pottery. It's edge-worn but etched with a faint pattern, unlike anything he's seen in Wolfham. His heart quickens. Is this a relic of the village's past, a clue to the figure in his sleep? The land is everything, feeding them, shaping their rest. But now it feels alive, its secrets seeping into their deep, medieval slumber. Elfwin, stirring the pottage, feels the whisper grow, a voice now clear enough to make her pause, her spoon still in the pot. Godric and Steinberg laugh outside, their voices a bright thread in the village's rhythm, but the whisper pulls at her, a name she almost knows. Wolfham moves on, its people bound by work, faith, and land, but the tension builds, a secret stirring in their perfect rest. What lies beneath their quiet, restful nights? And as the evening bells prepare to ring, will Edric's stones, Elfwin's whisper, draw them closer to the truth or deeper into the shadow that haunts Wolfham's heart? The evening light is fading over Wolfham, the sky a deep gold streaked with purple as the sun slips below the horizon. Edric trudges back from the fields, his pouch heavy with the strange, smooth stones and the pottery shard, their weight pulling at his belt like a secret he can't ignore. The dream, the cloaked figure in the misty field, feels so close now, its presence almost tangible, as if it's walking beside him through the barley rows. He pauses by the stream, splashing cold water on his face, but the chill does nothing to shake the tension building in his chest. The figure's face is still hidden, but its stance, tall and silent, feels like someone he knows, someone from Wolfham's past, tied to the deep, medieval sleep that's always cradled the village. The stones in his pouch, the shard with its faint, etched pattern, they're clues, pieces of a mystery that's unraveling, threatening the perfect rest he's never questioned. As he nears the hut, the church bells ring for evening prayers, their sound heavy in the cooling air, and Edric wonders if tonight's sleep will bring answers or deepen the shadow that haunts his dreams. Elfwin is setting out supper, the pottage steaming in wooden bowls, the golden loaf sliced into thick pieces. Godric and Steinberg sit by the fire, their faces lit by the flickering flames, their chatter quieter tonight, as if they sense the unease in their mother's eyes. The whisper from Elfwin's dream is a voice now, clear and insistent, calling her name with a pull that makes her heart race. It's not just a sound, it's a summons coming from the edge of the village, from the oak tree or the fields or the church itself. She glances at Edric as he steps inside, his face drawn, his hands clutching the pouch at his belt. She wants to ask about the stones, about the dream she knows he's hiding, but the words catch in her throat. The hut is warm, the fire steady, but a chill runs through her, a conflict that's grown from a whisper to a storm, threatening the deep, restful sleep she's always trusted. Is it the simplicity of their life, the rhythm of work and faith, that's breaking apart? Or is this voice, this mystery, tied to Wolfham's quiet, medieval nights, pulling her toward a truth she's not sure she's ready to face? The village is settling into the evening, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and cooling earth. Wulfric sits outside his hut, sharpening his axe on a whetstone, the blade scraping with a steady rasp. His grandfather's stories, tales of troubled sleep, of dreams that warned of danger, feel like warnings now, their weight pressing on him as he works. He saw Edric by the stream, noticed the pouch at his belt, the way he moved like a man carrying more than just stones. Wulfric's own restless night, that moment of waking with his heart pounding, is a thread in the village's growing tension, a subplot that binds him to Edric and Elfwin's mystery. He glances toward the oak tree at the village's edge, its branches dark against the twilight, and remembers his grandfather's words. The tree was planted when Wolfham was born, its roots deep in the land's secrets. Is the answer there, in the stories of the past, or in the deep, perfect sleep that now feels like it's slipping away? Wulfric sets the axe down, his hands trembling slightly, and heads toward the church, the bells pulling him into the heart of Wolfham's quiet storm. Edith is inside her hut, folding the dried wool, her hands moving slowly as she tries to push away thoughts of Alina. The gossip by the stream, those stories of fields, figures, whispers, has spread through the village, a murmur that grows louder with each passing hour. She overheard a child today, little Bjorn, talking about a dream of a man in a cloak standing by the oak tree. The words sent a shiver through her, a connection to her own dreams of Alina, fading into silence. Edith's longing for her daughter is a quiet conflict, but it's tangled now with the village's mystery, a fear that Wolfham's deep, restful slumber is hiding something no one can ignore. She steps outside, her breath catching in the cool air, and sees Elfwin's hut, its firelight glowing through the door. She wants to go to her friend, to ask if she's heard the whispers, felt the shadow, but fear holds her back. Is it just her heart, heavy with absence, or is the village's perfect sleep breaking, pulling them all toward a truth that's closer than ever? Father Leofric stands at the church altar, lighting the rushlights one by one, their flames sputtering in the dimness. His hands are steady, but his heart is not. The dream last night, the field, the figure, the whisper was clearer, the figure's voice calling his name, a summons he felt in his soul. He's seen the villagers' faces today, Edric's unease, Elfwin's quiet glances, Wulfric's silence. And he knows they're caught in the same mystery, a conflict that's spreading through Wolfham's medieval life like wildfire through dry grass. The church has always been their sanctuary, its faith a shield against the world's fears, but even Leofric feels the tension, a weight that makes his prayers feel like pleas. He's heard the women's gossip, the children's tales, and he's seen the oak tree at dusk, its shadow long and heavy. Is the secret there, in the land's history, or in the deep, restful sleep that binds Wolfham together, now fraying at the edges? He adjusts the cross on the altar, its wood worn smooth, and prepares for the evening prayers, knowing tonight's service will feel different, charged with a truth that's almost within reach. Edric sits at supper, tearing a piece of bread, his pouch of stones on the floor beside him. He hasn't shown them to Elfwin yet, hasn't told her about the pottery shard, its pattern like something from a story his father told. Tales of a time before Wolfham, when the land was wild and the dreams were warnings. The cloaked figure is so clear now, its face still hidden, but its presence heavy, as if it's waiting for him to understand. He glances at Elfwin, sees the worry in her eyes, and knows she feels it too. The whisper, the shadow, the mystery in their deep, medieval sleep. The children eat quietly, their laughter gone, and the hut feels smaller, the fire's warmth no match for the chill in their hearts. Edric's hand brushes the pouch, the stones warm through the leather, and he wonders if tonight's sleep will bring the figure closer, if the land itself will speak. Is this the conflict, a secret buried in Wolfham's past, now rising to break their perfect rest? Elfwin clears the bowls, her movements slow, her mind on the voice that calls her name. It's not just a whisper now, it's a plea, urgent and clear, coming from the oak tree, the church, the fields. She looks at Edric, sees the pouch, and knows he's hiding something, just as she's hiding the voice in her dreams. The church bells ring again, calling them to prayers, and she feels a pull, a need to go, to kneel and listen. The village is quiet, the evening air heavy with anticipation, and Wolfham's rhythm feels fragile, like a thread about to snap. As they walk to the church, Edric's hand on her arm, Elfwin feels the whisper grow, a voice that knows her, that's part of her. Wolfham is alive, its people bound by work, faith, and land, but the tension is unbearable, a secret in their deep, restful sleep that's ready to break. What lies beneath their quiet, medieval nights? And as they kneel in the church, will the stones, the whisper, the figure, bring them to the edge of the truth, or leave them lost in the shadow that haunts Wolfham's heart? The church in Wolfham is dim, its stone walls lit only by the flickering rushlights, as Edric and Elfwin kneel among their neighbors, the air heavy with the scent of tallow and damp earth. Father Leofric's voice weaves through the Latin prayers, steady but strained, as if he feels the same weight pressing on the village. Edric's hand rests on Elfwin's arm, the pouch of stones and the pottery shard heavy at his belt, their warmth seeping through the leather like a heartbeat. The cloaked figure from his dream, the tall, silent man in the misty field, is so vivid now, its presence almost real, as if it's standing just beyond the church door, waiting. Elfwin's heart races, the voice from her dream no longer a whisper but a clear, urgent call, her name spoken with a tone that feels both familiar and strange, echoing from the oak tree, the fields, the very ground beneath them. The prayers end, but no one moves, the silence thick with a shared unease, a tension that's gripped Wolfham's deep, medieval sleep and refuses to let go. As they rise, Edric catches fatherly Alfric's eye, and for a moment, he's sure the priest knows something, a secret tied to the perfect rest that's unraveling, pulling them all toward a truth that's closer than ever. Outside, the night is dark, the stars hidden by clouds, and the village feels smaller, its quiet rhythm fragile under the weight of the mystery. Edric and Elfwin walk back to their hut, Godric and Steinberg left with Edith for the night, the path lit only by the faint glow of a rushlight in Elfwin's hand. Edric's fingers brush the pouch, the stones shifting, and he stops, his breath catching as he pulls out the pottery shard. In the dim light, its etched pattern is clearer, a spiral, like the ones carved on the old stones near the oak tree, relics from a time before Wolfham's church was built. Elfwin gasps, her hand trembling as she touches the shard, and whispers, "I saw this in my dream, Edric, on a stone by the tree." The voice in her sleep, the cloaked figure in his. Suddenly, they're not just dreams, but a message, a warning from the land itself, tied to the deep, restful slumber that's defined their medieval life. The stakes rise, a second twist tightening the conflict. These aren't random dreams, but a call from Wolfham's forgotten past, a history buried in the soil, now waking in their nights. Back at the hut, Edric sets the shard on the wooden board, the stones beside it, their surfaces glinting in the firelight. Elfwin sits close, her eyes fixed on the spiral, her mind racing with the voice that called her name, now echoing with a word she couldn't grasp before, Ethel. It's not her name, not anyone she knows, but it feels like a key, a name from the village's roots, tied to the oak tree and the stones. She tells Edric, her voice low, and he nods, his own dream shifting in his mind. The cloaked figure turning, its face still hidden, but now holding a stone carved with the same spiral. The hut feels too small, the fire's warmth no match for the chill that's settled in their bones. The perfect sleep they've always known, the deep, medieval rest that cradles Wolfham, is no longer a comfort but a veil, hiding a truth that's breaking through. Is Ethel a person, a spirit, or a symbol of something the village forgot? The tension builds, the mystery no longer just a shadow but a force, pulling them toward a climax they can't yet see. Wulfric, leaving the church, lingers by the oak tree, its branches swaying in the night breeze. His grandfather's stories, tales of troubled dreams, of a time when Wolfham's land was cursed, feel alive now, their warnings ringing in his ears. He's seen the spiral carvings on the old stones, hidden by moss, and heard whispers of a woman named Ethel, a healer who lived before the church, whose name was struck from memory. Wulfric's own restless night, his heart pounding in the dark, is a piece of this puzzle, a subplot that deepens the village's conflict. He touches the tree's bark, rough under his fingers, and feels a tremor, as if the roots are stirring, connected to the stones Edric found, to the dreams that haunt them all. Is this tree, planted when Wolfham was young, the heart of the mystery, or a guardian of a secret that's waking in their deep, restful sleep? Wulfric hurries home, his steps quick, knowing he must tell Edric, but fearing what it means for the village's quiet, medieval life. Edith, watching Godric and Steinberg in her hut, feels the weight of the night pressing in. The children sleep on a straw mat, their breathing soft, but even they stirred earlier, Steinberg murmuring about a man by the oak tree in her dream. Edith's longing for her daughter is tangled with the village's mystery, Her own dreams of Alina now mixed with fields and whispers, the spiral pattern flickering in her mind. The gossip by the stream, stories of figures and voices, has reached every corner of Wolfham, and tonight, the village feels alive with it, a shared fear that their perfect sleep is breaking. Edith steps outside, her breath visible in the cold, and sees a faint light by the oak tree, a glow that shouldn't be there. Her heart skips, a twist that raises the stakes. Is it a trick of the night, or a sign that the mystery is no longer just in their dreams, but in Wolfham itself, threatening the deep, medieval rest that binds them? Father Leofric remains in the church, alone now, his hands clasped before the altar. The rushlights burn low, casting long shadows, and his dream, the field, the figure, the whisper of his name, feels like a summons he can't ignore. He's found something today, hidden in the church's small archive, a scrap of vellum, faded but legible, mentioning Ethel, a woman who spoke to the land, whose dreams were said to guide Wolfham before the church was built. Her name was erased, her story forbidden, but the spiral carvings, the oak tree, the stones, they're hers, tied to the village's past. Leofric's faith, the anchor of his medieval life, is shaken. The conflict no longer just a dream, but a truth that challenges the church's hold on Wolfham. He hears a sound outside, a rustle by the oak tree, and steps to the door, his heart pounding. Is this Ethel's voice, waking in their deep, restful sleep, or a warning that the village's quiet nights are ending? Edric and Elfwin sit by the fire, the stones and shard between them, the spiral glowing in the light. The voice in Elfwin's dream, the figure in Edric's, they're not separate but one, a call from Ethel, from the land, from Wolfham's forgotten heart. The church bells are silent, but the oak tree looms in their minds, its roots deep, its shadow long. The village is quiet, its rhythm holding its breath, and the tension is unbearable, a secret in their deep, medieval sleep ready to break. As they prepare for bed, Edric's hand on the pouch, Elfwin's eyes on the door, they feel the climax approaching, the truth of Ethel, the stones, the dreams hovering just out of reach. What lies beneath their quiet, restful nights? And as they lie down, will the figure, the voice, the spiral, bring them to the edge of Wolfham's mystery, or plunge them into its darkest heart? The fire in Edric and Elfwin's hut burns low, its embers casting a faint glow over the stones and pottery shard on the wooden board, the spiral carvings catching the light like whispers from the past. Edric's hand rests on the pouch, the stones warm against his palm, while Elfwin sits beside him, her eyes fixed on the door, the voice in her dream, Ethel's voice, ringing clear in her mind, a plea that pulls her toward the oak tree. The night is heavy, Wolfham's quiet rhythm broken by a tension that's gripped the village's deep, medieval sleep, a mystery that's no longer just in their dreams but alive in the land itself. Edric stands, his voice low but firm. "We need to go to the tree, Elfwin. Tonight." She nods, her heart pounding, knowing the climax of their story. The truth of Ethel and the dreams lies under the oak's ancient branches. They wrap their cloaks around their shoulders, the rushlight's flame trembling in Elfwin's hand, and step into the dark, the village silent, the air thick with anticipation, as if Wolfham itself is holding its breath for the resolution of its deep, restful slumber. The path to the oak tree is narrow, the ground uneven under their feet, and the night is cold, the clouds parting to reveal a sliver of moon. Edric clutches the pouch, the stones and shard a weight that feels like the key to their dreams. The cloaked figure, the misty field, the spiral carvings. Elfwin's steps are steady, but her mind races with Ethel's voice, now a chant, find me," echoing from the tree ahead, its silhouette looming against the sky. As they reach the oak, they see others, Wulfric, his axe in hand, his face grim, Edith, her shawl tight around her shoulders, her eyes wide with fear, and Father Leofric, holding a scrap of vellum, his robe swaying in the breeze. The village has converged, drawn by the same dreams. The the same whispers, the same secrets stirring in their deep, medieval rest. Leofric steps forward, his voice shaking. Ethel was a healer, erased from our history, but her spirit lives in the land, in our sleep. She's calling us to right a wrong. The words land like a spark, igniting the tension, and Edric pulls the stones from his pouch, their spirals matching the carvings on the tree's base, a truth that's been buried for generations. Wulfric kneels, brushing moss from the stones around the oak, revealing more spirals, their patterns glowing faintly in the moonlight. He speaks, his voice rough. My grandfather said Ethel's dreams saved Wulfham, but the church feared her power, buried her story, and cursed the land to forget. Elfwyn feels the voice in her dream surge, Ethel's name a pulse in her chest, and she touches the tree, its bark warm, alive, as if it's breathing. Edith gasps, pointing to a faint glow at the tree's roots, the same light she saw earlier, now pulsing like a heartbeat. Edric digs with his hands, the soil soft and yielding, and uncovers a small, carved box, its wood etched with spirals, its surface warm like the stones. The climax is here, the conflict of Wulfham's perfect sleep unraveling, the mystery of Ethel and the dreams reaching its peak. Leofric opens the vellum, reading aloud. Ethel's rest was bound to the land, her dreams a guide, but her banishment broke the balance, trapping her spirit in our sleep. The words are a key, unlocking the truth. Their deep, restful slumber wasn't natural, but a spell, Ethel's way of speaking through the village, waiting for someone to listen. Edric opens the box, revealing a bundle of dried herbs, thyme and sage, like those Elfwyn sorted, and a small, polished stone, its spiral glowing brighter, as if alive. Elfwyn takes the stone, her hand trembling, and feels Ethel's voice flood her mind. Not a plea now, but a command. Free me. She kneels, placing the stone among the tree's roots, and the glow spreads, the air humming with a warmth that feels like the deep, medieval sleep they've known all their lives. The villagers watch, their breath held, as the tree trembles, its leaves rustling though there's no wind. Leofric begins a prayer, not in Latin, but in the old tongue, words he found on the vellum, a blessing for Ethel's spirit. The glow brightens the spirals on the stones and box pulsing, and Edric feels the cloaked figure from his dream dissolve, its weight lifting, as if the land is finally at peace. The conflict resolves, the dreams, the whispers, the restless nights were Ethel's call, now answered, her spirit freed, the balance restored to Wulfham's quiet, restful slumber. But as the glow fades, a final twist shocks them all. The ground shifts slightly, and from the roots of the oak, a faint outline appears. Not Ethel, but a child, translucent, its eyes wide and knowing, holding a spiral stone. Steinberg's voice echoes in Elfwyn's mind, her daughter's dream of a man by the tree, now clear. It was no man, but this child, a guardian of Ethel's legacy, watching Wulfham through the centuries. The child points to the church, its gaze piercing, and vanishes, leaving a single word in the air. Remember. The villagers stand frozen, the resolution of Ethel's story now tinged with a new mystery. What does the child want, and why the church? Edric clutches the box, Elfwyn's hand in his, and they look to Leofric, whose face is pale, the vellum trembling in his hands. The deep, medieval sleep that bound Wulfham is restored, but the child's appearance raises the stakes, a surprise that hints at another secret, one they've only begun to uncover. The villagers return to their huts, the night now calm, the stars peeking through the clouds. Edric and Elfwyn lie on their straw mattress, the stones and shard tucked away, the herbs burned as an offering to Ethel. Their sleep is deep, restful, free of dreams for the first time in days, the village's quiet rhythm restored. Wulfric sharpens his axe, his heart lighter, while Edith dreams of Alina, her daughter's face clear and smiling. Leofric prays in the church, the vellum hidden, his faith shaken but steady. Wulfham is at peace, its deep, Medieval rest, a gift from Ethel, now honored. But as they sleep, the child's word, remember, lingers, a whisper in the land, a promise that the village's story isn't over, that their quiet, restful nights hold one final truth waiting to be found. The night air in Wolfham is crisp, the stars now bright above the village as Edric and Elfwin walk back to their hut, their hands clasped, the weight of the oak tree's revelation settling into their hearts. The glow from the tree has faded, Ethel's spirit freed, her call answered, and the deep, medieval sleep that once felt heavy with mystery is now a gentle embrace, a gift restored to the village. But the child's translucent form, its piercing gaze and the word remember pointing to the church, lingers like a whisper in the wind, a final question in Wolfham's quiet, restful nights. Edric carries the carved box, its herbs burned, its spiral stone returned to the earth, while Elfwin feels the echo of Ethel's voice, now soft, at peace. The village is silent, its rhythm steady again, but the child's mystery pulls at them, a thread that needs tying to close the story of their deep, medieval slumber. As they reach the hut, the fire's embers glow faintly, and they sit, knowing the night isn't over, that the church holds the final piece of Wolfham's truth. Wulfric, back at his hut, sets his axe by the door, his hands steady for the first time in days. The stories his grandfather told, of Ethel, of troubled dreams, were true, and freeing her spirit has lifted a weight from his heart. But the child's appearance, its gaze toward the church, stirs a memory. His grandfather spoke of a guardian, a spirit tied to Wolfham's founding, watching over the village through its quiet, restful sleep. Wulfric steps outside, looking toward the church, its stone walls dark against the starlit sky, and decides he'll speak to Father Leofric tomorrow. His subplot, the fear of a cursed land, resolves in the peace of Ethel's release, but the child's word, remember, is a call to honor the past, to keep Wolfham's history alive in their medieval life. He returns inside, his heart lighter, ready to sleep deeply, the village's rhythm a comfort once more. Edith, still watching Godric and Seinberg, tucks a blanket over their sleeping forms, their faces calm on the straw mat. The ache for Alina, her daughter far away, has softened tonight, her dreams no longer heavy with loss but bright with her daughter's smile. The child by the oak tree, its spiral stone and pointed gaze, feels like a message, a connection to Alina, as if Wolfham's freed spirit has mended her heart. Edith's subplot, her longing, finds closure in this piece, but the child's mystery ties her to the village's story. She steps to the door, seeing the church in the distance, and knows she'll join Elfwin tomorrow to learn what remember means. The gossip by the stream, the shared dreams, have woven Wolfham together, their deep, restful slumber a bond that holds them close. Edith lies down, her sleep deep, the village's quiet nights a gift she cherishes. Father Leofric stands alone in the church, the rushlights burned out, the vellum in his hands trembling slightly. The child's appearance shocked him, its gaze a mirror of the truth he's uncovered. Ethel wasn't alone. The vellum mentions a daughter, unnamed, who guarded her mother's legacy, her spirit bound to Wolfham's land, watching through the centuries. Leofric's faith, shaken by Ethel's story, finds strength in this discovery. The church isn't just a place of Latin prayers, but a keeper of the village's heart, its deep, medieval rest tied to both Ethel and her child. He steps outside, the night cool, and walks to the church's small graveyard, where an unmarked stone, half hidden by grass, bears a faint spiral. This, he realizes, is the child's resting place, her call to remember, a plea to honor her alongside Ethel. Leofric kneels, his hands on the stone, and whispers a prayer, not in Latin, but in the old tongue, binding the child's spirit to Wolfham's quiet, restful sleep. Edric and Elfwin, unable to sleep, step outside, drawn to the church by a pull they can't explain. The village is asleep, its huts dark, but the church glows faintly, a soft light spilling from its door. They meet Wulfric and Edith on the path, their faces lit by the same quiet resolve, and together they finally offer it by the graveyard, his prayer a low hum in the night. He rises, showing them the stone, its spiral matching the ones from Edric's pouch, and tells them of Ethel's daughter, the guardian child whose spirit watched Wolfram, guiding them to free her mother. The dreams, the whispers, the stones, they were her way of speaking, her call to remember not just Ethel, but the village's roots, its bond with the land. The final twist resolves. The child wasn't a new mystery, but the heart of Wolfram's story, her spirit now at peace, her plea answered in their deep, medieval slumber. The villagers stand together, their hands on the stone, and Leofric leads a simple blessing, words that weave Ethel and her daughter into Wolfram's faith, a promise to remember. The glow from the church fades, the night calm, and they feel the land settle, its secrets laid to rest. Edric and Elfwin return home, the pouch empty, the box tucked away, their hearts full. Godric and Steinberg are brought back, their sleep unbroken, their dreams free of figures or whispers. Wulfric carves a spiral on his plow, a quiet tribute to the past, while Edith writes to Alina, her words filled with love and peace. Leofric places the vellum in the church archive, a record for Wolfram's future, his faith a bridge between the old and new. Wolfram wakes to a bright morning, the barley fields golden, the streams sparkling, the oak tree standing tall. The villagers work, pray, and rest, their deep, medieval sleep a gift from Ethel and her daughter, now honored in their hearts. The church bells ring, softer now, a call to community, to faith, to the land that binds them. Edric and Elfwin, kneading dough or hoeing the fields, feel the rhythm of their life, simple yet profound, a reflection of Wolfram's strength. The key takeaway is clear. Their quiet, restful nights are more than sleep. They're a connection to the past, a balance between land and spirit, kept alive by remembering. The village's story, once haunted, is now whole. Its deep, medieval rest a legacy of love, faith, and community that lingers in every starlit night. As the sun sets, Edric and Elfwin sit by the fire, their children asleep, the hut warm and still. They share a glance, a silent promise to tell Godric and Steinberg of Ethel, of the child, of the spirals that saved Wolfram. The village sleeps, its rhythm unbroken, its deep, restful slumber a testament to the truth they uncovered. The oak tree sways, the church stands firm, and Wolfram's quiet, medieval nights carry on, a memorable end to a story of dreams, whispers, and a land that never forgets. The audience is left with a reflection. In the simplicity of a village's rest, there's a power to heal, to remember, to live in harmony with the past, a lesson that echoes in every peaceful, starlit sleep.